So in 2017, three towns of Duck and Kill Devil Hills and Kitty Hawk had planned a large multi-town beach nourishment project. And right before that project went into play, a large hotspot had developed on the south end of Southern Shores. And so Southern Shores took its first step in adding sand to the beaches. Shortly after 2017's project, the town decided that it would be good to do a town-wide assessment of the condition of the beach, the health of the beach, to see if beach nourishment was going to be in their future. And so over the course of the next 2 or 3 years, our firm, Coastal Protection Engineering, conducted a feasibility analysis, a vulnerability analysis to look at the rates of erosion that were being experienced here in Southern Shores and to see what sorts of vulnerabilities there were to larger coastal storms. In 2020, the town ultimately decided that based on the data, they wanted to move forward with the beach nourishment project. That beach nourishment project was constructed between the fall of 2022 and a little additional sand was placed in the spring of 2023. But once that sand is in place, you really want to be monitoring that sand annually to see if you're losing more than you expected. Are you gaining sand? Where are you gaining sand? Are there variabilities along the beach? And so our firm, back in June 2023, we conducted our first monitoring survey. And so we take the data that was collected immediately after the project was built, and this data that's from about 8 or 9 months after the project was constructed, and we start to look how the sand that was placed is evolving. Are we gaining more sand? Are we losing sand? And how does that change along the beach? And so this evening I'll be providing the first update of a report on those changes, those volume changes, those shoreline changes. And that process will continue annually as we work into the future and monitor these beaches. If you're familiar with the town, the design from 4th Avenue North is one purpose, and the design for 4th Avenue South is a different purpose. And so for that area to the south of 4th Avenue, we were really looking at augmenting or providing additional storm damage reduction, protecting these structures from erosion that would occur during a storm. And so we added a specific amount of sand that would protect from a design storm, and then we added additional sand out in front of that. And the idea is that at the end of the renourishment cycle, when it comes time to place more sand on the beach, you don't want to have lost any of your actual design. You may have lost some of that sacrificial fill. And so really when we're monitoring that area south of 4th Avenue, we're looking at, have we lost so much of that advanced fill that our dune is now being undermined or our design is being undermined? And so far what we found is we've actually gained a little bit more sand. So that's always a positive story to tell. North of 4th Avenue, the purpose was to establish a wider dry sand beach for recreation, for the ability of emergency vehicles to get up and down the beach. So we really focused in on providing just enough sand to maintain a usable beach. And so we defined that usable beach as a certain width on the beach. And so far we're maintaining that beach at that width, which was the design of that project. So again, every year we'll go back and we'll check that average width and see how that's holding up over time. For this beach nourishment project, the design was not to place additional sand in the dune. The design was just to build this flat, dry sand beach. But anytime you place that much dry sand out on a beach with the wind conditions that we have here in the Outer Banks, sand is going to get to start to blow around. And so the idea here was that immediately after construction, sand fencing would be installed at the base of the existing dune. And once that sand had a chance to start building up and filling in between the fence, the town would come through and start to reestablish vegetation.
The town of Southern Shores has 3.7 miles of dune. I'm with Better Beaches and also with the town of Southern Shores and the Southern Shores Civic Association. Last year we started and we did 1.3 miles of that 3.75 miles. This year it was supplemented by a contractor who planted some grass, but we still plan on doing at least 1.1 mile from Hickory up to the town line with Duck.
One of the other things that we're looking at doing is, depending on the performance of these beach projects, now that we've built a couple of them in Duck and Kill Devil Hills and Kitty Hawk, and we have our first one here in Southern Shores, we want to look at whether or not we could extend the interval between projects. Right now it's designed for 5 years, but at some point in time, if we could go 6 or 7 years, even if we have to place the same amount of fill, that allows us to save costs of the mobilization that occurs every time this construction takes place. So we're looking into that optimization as well.